Welcome back to the tabletop, everyone. It's been a while, but I'm glad to be back with you. I know there's still some stuff I need to finish up, but things have been hectic, life gets in the way. But I wanted to get something out, so I wanted to show you Commands and Colors Napoleonics. Not that this is new for anyone, but this is new for me. Very excited. I have a friend. We have started doing Napoleonics. Now, my friend has been doing Napoleonics for years and has a lot of figures painted up, and it looks amazing to see, all of these grandiose uniforms and miniatures, and they're marching in line. Oh, I absolutely love Napoleonics miniature gaming. The one problem with Napoleonics miniature gaming is you got to have a lot of Napoleonics miniatures. And the fact that there are, so many nations involved, that if you want to have a really good Napoleonics battle, you're going to have a lot of figures on reserve. And my friend, it feels like he's got a bunch, and he has a bunch still waiting to be painted, but it requires so many, because even within an army, there's grenadiers, guards, line, Cossacks, cuirassiers, I don't even know how you pronounce it, but there are so many different types of infantry and cavalry units that if you really want to represent armies, you either have to dedicate to one, or you just have to amass a ginormous collection of figures for all the armies you want to play with. So it is when you get into that, that's what you need to dedicate to truly fill it out. So I heard somewhere, or the alternative I heard was, bam! GMT Games, Commands and Colors Napoleonics. So this is the Commands and Colors system if you're not familiar with this. So trust me, this has been out for years, a good decade. So a lot of you watching are probably very, very familiar with this, but this is my journey into it. I like the Commands and Colors system. Is it a board game? Is it more childish? I've heard all kinds of stuff because I started with Memoir 44, which was Commands and Colors. But Commands and Colors has Ancients. It's got the World War II. It's got Napoleonics. It has a medieval version. There's even, from Compass Games, they have a Revolutionary War system. And I heard before Richard Borg's passing, he was working on a feudal Japan system, which I hope is true, and I hope that comes out. He had put together a Commands and Color rule set for Samurai Battles by Zvezda Games, and Zvezda, when their owner passed, that kind of just went away. In fact, that game was very hard to find. But that game came with two rule sets. It used the Zvezda rule set for their battle system, for their World War II gaming, and it came with a set of rules that was Commands and Colors supported, and it used miniatures instead of blocks. Well, that brings me to Commands, Colors, and Napoleonics. So I read another spot where someone was like, you know what, just use the blocks in Commands and Colors because they have infantry, different types of infantry, cavalry, artillery pieces, all in block forms. And the stickers to block just pretty much say, infantry. There's no combat value, so they're very agnostic. So you could use these blocks in Napoleonic war games, miniature tabletops. Problem with that is you might still need a lot of blocks, but no painting. And trust me, these take a lot of time to paint. Yeah, it's crazy. Anyway, so that's what brings me to this. I thought about reaching out to GMT Games and seeing if they would, send me a copy, but this always seems to be in some kind of P500 order status kind of mode. So I just went ahead and bought it. So this is all me, all mine. So let's pop it open. Well, for those who have never seen this before and you don't know what Commands and Colors is, I will show you. But here's the back of the box. Here's an example of, there's some leader counters and then your artillery. So your artillery will say if it's like foot cannon or horse cannon or a guard foot. There's your cuirassier. I don't know how you pronounce that. Heavy cavalry, heavy. So they have some different unit types available. Now this is just the base box, French, British. They have expansions. You can get Prussians, Russians. There's a lot to this. So this system is very, very well supported. So I'm very happy to get into this. This is also the 2019 edition. It's the 4th printing. And my understanding is the fourth printing pretty much is the third edition, just maybe with some updates, but pretty much it's just the fourth printing. It's not a remake of rules or anything like that. So let's pop it. Now my copy arrived, I was a little suspect because the shrink wrap was very loose, so I thought maybe it had been rewrapped. I got this off eBay, and off the top of my head I can't remember who or what store I ordered it from, but they were excellent shipping. They're going to get a 5-star out of me. I ordered it, and like that night I had a shipping notice, and this arrived I think a day early. So whoever they are, they're going to get a 5-star review from me. Okay, so here we got scenarios. This is second edition scenarios. All right, that's fine. What do we got for scenarios? Now this is, I'm going to say, like a standard GMT kind of paper magazine. It's cool. It's not a magazine, but 17 August, Rolica, French first position, French second position, Vimerio, Coruna, River Coa. I'm probably pronouncing all of these wrong, so someone got mad at me the other day. They didn't like the way well, I won't say they didn't like me, but they said they didn't like my pronunciation of the German battleship Gneisenau. I thought that's how you say it. I don't know. I read a thing in the when you play the how do you pronounce this? It says Gneisenau. I thought it's Gneisenau, but I guess not. So I'm probably pronouncing all of these wrong. Sorry. But yeah, so you got some scenarios here. They all use one map. Now they do have epic Napoleonics where you can have multiple maps. So right now this uses just one map, but what you have are terrain tiles. And again, very reminiscent of like Memoir 44. One map, but you put the tiles down and you can have it represent lots of different maps. There you go. Garcia Hernandez. Combat at Air. I never pronounced that one, but that's a famous battle, right? Quatre Bras, four brass. I have no idea. And Waterloo. Oh, this has got Waterloo. You can play Waterloo in an afternoon. This would probably more be reminiscent of Part. I would have a hard time for people to say, yeah, this was all of Waterloo. But, yeah, there's Waterloo. There you go. So you got some great scenarios. Rules of Play says 3rd edition. And what are we looking at here? I went ahead, I looked at the rules online. Because if you go to the GMT website, they have the living rules. And that way you always have the most current rules on their website. But, you know, just flipping through here. Tells you how to set up your blocks. Tells you how to set up your dice. The dice are kind of a custom die. You have to put stickers on the dice, stickers on your blocks. There's a square tracker, unit visual aids, banner counters, which is awesome. Example of what your blocks will look like. How to set up your game, how to play, and it's not really a whole lot of rules. However, this does have some rules very specific to Napoleonics versus World War II, so I am going to have to read this. But there's ranged combat. So even though it's blocks, there's still some things very similar to what you would have in a normal Napoleonics game. That's a zoomed out view. I haven't seen where you have to put your units in a line or anything like that. The only thing I've seen where you really can make a decision to do is put them in square. But that's fine. Because if you've played anything like ESR, I don't even know how you pronounce that. Exultant, I don't know. But there's ESR Napoleonics rules, and that's kind of a zoomed out view. So that you don't worry about putting them in line or square or anything like that. It's assumed that the commander of those battalions are micromanaging that aspect, and that's how I see this. You're more like an army commander, and you're not worried about the details of formations. That's what the battalion and brigade commanders are doing. So you're just telling the troops where to go. So this is like a high command. That's how I imagine it. Then it's got rules for leader casualty, retreats, combat action, so quite a bit on combat. Then your end of turn, and then here you go, a whole section on Napoleonic tactics and what to do here. Forming your squares is right there. How to do that. Quite a bit on squares, actually. Interesting. Coming out of your squares. Terrain rules. So, you know, what you would expect from a war game. And then the command card. So that's another thing, too. Again, if you're not familiar with the Commands and Colors system, it is a card-driven system. You have tactics cards. You draw the tactic card, and it will tell you what units to move, where they can move, and it's all based on the map, which I will show you here in a minute. But there you go. So you got a rule book. It's a nice rule book. Then we have some combat charts, looks like. Range fire. I'm not sure if this is anybody specific. National unit reference. Okay, let me see if it's the same. Alright, so I've got a British and whatever. I guess these brown blocks can be used for a lot of other things. Well, it says Portuguese. Never mind. I just see it right there. So Portuguese. So British, Portuguese here. And then the combat charts. Since this one is British, I'm curious if there's any difference here. Oh, just looks like you would look for infantry. Alright, so I don't see any differences out here in the general tables. But if I go here to the unit specific by nationality, line infantry, 4 blocks, move 1 hex, roll 1, no difference there. Alright, light infantry, 5 blocks for British, 4 blocks for French. So this is nice, even in a block game. It looks like there are going to be some national characteristics to consider. Great. Well, and then some people like that, because again, if you do like the miniature gaming, there's, you know, some people have guard units, and those are all different qualities for training and things like that. And there's definitely different national characteristics in Napoleonic gaming, even down to how they form the units. You know, some nations, they have huge amounts, and some not as many because they're a smaller nation. So that's cool to see there are some national characteristics even here. So it's not just simply all generic across the board. Alright, then we got 2 play aids for terrain effects on one side, terrain effects on both. That's a lot of different terrain types. So you got 2 there. Can you form squares? Yeah, and some of that you can. So there you go. You got 2 play aid charts. Here's 2 list of cards. So good for you and your opponent. So there you go, list of cards. Then we have stickers. Now I expect a lot of stickers because it's front and back. Woo! Yeah. So one drawback or plus, stickers galore. So with, you know, block gaming, you don't have to clip corners of your counters, but that's a lot of sticker sheets. Yeah, there's some for the dice. That's a lot of stickers. I think I'm going to enjoy that. I've got some other block games too, so nothing I'm new. You know, I'm used. It's nothing new. I'm used to it. And then here's some of the terrain overlays. So that's how they achieve using one game board. Is you have overlays for the terrain for the map. So there's not like one map for each scenario. Is you got to use these tiles and put them on your map, which, you know, can be tedious to some degree. I love these flag counters though. Those are fantastic. There's your squares. So you got a bunch of overlays. Then we have here the square tracker. I'm not sure exactly how this works, but there's 1 per person. And if I were, you know, just from what I've seen so far, you'll have counters that you will put like 1 counter on a unit and the matching counter here to let you know that that unit is in square. So this just helps you identify where on the field your units are that are in square. Alright, cool. 1 blue for the French, red for the British. Good. And here's the map. I'm just going to shove that aside for a minute. Let's unfold the map. Yeah, I mean, it's a good size map. You probably can't see the whole thing, but that's why the overlays will go on here. And now we give you the different terrains. So this is a nice sized map. But what you can't tell is this map is actually divided into 3 sections. You can see right here, maybe not very well on the camera, but there is a kind of a dashed line and a dashed line right here. The cards, which in this cleverly disguised tray, if I lift this up, you have the cards and the blocks. No need to open the bag of blocks. There's just a lot of blocks. The cards we will open. Let me see if I can get them with my fingernails. We cannot. Scissors. Right. Oh, can't get them with scissors either. But the way this works, if you're new, and of course if you're a veteran you can correct me, but from what I remember of Memoir 44, and I understand new games, so there could be differences, but the very basic idea is you're going to have a hand of cards, and that's what these are. These are tactics. And for example, let's draw Scout Left Flank. Issue an order to one unit or leader on the left flank. When drawing a new command card, draw two. Choose one and discard the other. So essentially, if this is my left flank and I play this card, I'm going to activate one of my units of blocks to do its movement or fire or shoot or action or whatever. And that's how this game simply works. Out of your hand, there's short supply. Okay, some of these are other things, short supply, very specific handwritten rules. There's a rally, La Grande Maneuver, leadership. So there's some that have some very specific text things that apply to them, effects. But most of the cards you get, there's some bombards, bayonet charges, but most of them are going to be looking like this. It will tell you how many units in each of the sectors you can activate to perform an action. All right, so there's a 1, 2, 1, one on each flank, one in the middle. There's a flank attack. You can do 2 units on each flank. So part of the strategy with this game, and it is strategy, is deciding where to move units. So, think of it like lanes in one of your MOBA video games. What lane do I focus on and where do I put my troops? Well, you never quite know for sure because you never know what cards are coming up. That's your fog of war, and I think for Napoleonics, that will be a fun mechanic to use to kind of replicate the problems of communicating with troops in the field. With Memoir 44, it works. It just felt a little kind of wonky at times because I imagine they had better communication. But, it simulates the idea that it is hard to get orders out. Here, that makes complete sense because you got to deal with, they don't have radios and things like that. They got flags and signal bearers that they got to, signal out the commands and orders. So to have some kind of fog of war delay that says, oh yeah, I'm going to be able to get my orders out to my assault center or my flanks, I think that works out brilliantly. But that's the command deck. That's how you use it with the board. Your 3 lanes, the cards activate units in those specific lanes. And the trick is, do I move units from here to the flank? Because you got to be careful, because if I move units out to the flank, because if I just got done drawing a bunch of left flank cards, I might not get one for a while. So just be careful how you move people. Very exciting stuff. So there's your map. That's how you use the cards with the map. One thing I did not see included here, which, is what it is Memoir 44 had some really cool, they were just cheap little plastic card holders that you could stick your cards up and have them displayed in front of you so your opponent couldn't see your cards. Instead of this, I'm just going to have to hold or put them down over there. I know, it's a quibble. It really doesn't matter. That box says second printing, 2012. So yeah, like I said, I think it's something I read said 2010 on it. So yeah, this game's been around for a while. So again, thank you for watching. If if you're very familiar with commands and colors, please share your tips, tricks for learning the game. What are your thoughts on it? I'd be very curious to hear. If you've never seen this before, go ahead. Maybe share some thoughts that you think. Does it even look interesting to you? I'm going to try and figure out how to play solo. I saw a recommendation for solo play, which said you're going to have 3 cards for the opponent. And what you do is you, when it's the opponent's turn, you play, look at the 3 cards, pick what you want to do, and then you discard the second card. You keep 1 card. That way you don't know what cards are coming up to the opponent till it's their turn. But by keeping 1 card, you kind of have an idea of what the opponent has to try and create continuity for that AI player where you're hiding the cards. I hope that made sense. But I did read there is somebody who thought of what do you do for solo play. So you get your blocks. You get the Portuguese blocks, you get the British blocks, French blocks, some black blocks for, what was it? I just saw them. There were like a bunch of other stuff. But anyway, you got some generic blocks for some other stuff in there. You get your terrain tiles with some cool flags. You get a bunch of stickers to sticker your block. And I tell you, the artwork on these stickers looks great. And they look really good, and I don't have to paint any miniatures. You get 2 card summaries. You get 2 terrain tile effect chart tables. You get 2 national characteristics for your armies charts. 1 for you, 1 for your opponent. You get a rule book. Very nicely done rule book. Looks very good. 1 scenario including Waterloo. Well, 1 scenario book including Waterloo. And the box. Oh, and the cards. So that's what comes in your Commands and Colors Napoleonics starter box. I am very excited to get this up and running. And I will be more than happy to try out a solo scenario game for you all when it's done. In the meantime, stay safe and hope to see you around for the next video. Thanks for tuning in. Talk to you later. Bye.